Welcome to Into the Obscure podcast. Sit back, relax, and let us take you on a journey through the paranormal. Your hosts tonight are mostly accurate, and your guest always entertaining. Join us, won't you? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome
Hello.
tonight. Welcome. Guys, I'm Jenny.
I'm Tressa.
I'm Kara.
All right, fantastic. Being surrounded by the paranormal and paranormal people and all of this information, all of the stories that we hear, any experiences that we've had, most of the stuff doesn't spook us. Very calm through a lot of it, and a lot of things that you hear that might frighten an ordinary person doesn't really frighten us, But tonight, we're going to talk about things that actually do scare us. The things about the paranormal or paranormal adjacent that actually freak us out and give us the heebie-jeebies and all of those things. And I think we're going to start with Teresa.
With me?
With Teresa.
Hey guys. You know what I'm going to talk about tonight? I'm going to talk about demons.
Hot topic.
Isn't it though? I feel like right now, in my, life, demons are a non-issue. It's not something that scares me, aside from the fact that I have, so much history and trauma from growing up in a strict church that they were everywhere. Everything that was not religious was basically a demon when I was growing up. For instance, everything. Aliens, dinosaurs, Kiss, the band, everything. Demons. And I grew up a terrified child because of it. I just thought of this story earlier today where I've always had insomnia, even as a child. And I would hear footsteps right outside my window. I lived in a ranch house, and right outside my window was a rock garden. And it was like lava rocks, and they're really loud when you step on them. They were definitely footsteps, definitely not an animal. They were footsteps. At least that's what I remember. And I was convinced they were aliens that were going to take me to hell. I was 10, okay? I don't remember exactly, but as a child, this is how I remember it. I have no idea what that was to this day, but pretty sure I was going to be taken to hell. So, you guys aliens. All right, so
Does the
Yes?
alien part scare you? Because I know that you have done a lot of deep dives into UFOs, into alien presence. How does that make you feel? Because that could be a little bit terrifying, I feel like.
I think, you get out of a certain situation and you're like, oh, that was crazy that I thought all those things. And I don't think that they're evil on any. If anything, they're neutral and scientists. I don't think that they're evil. And they're definitely not demons. I don't know if I even believe demons exist. Maybe, I don't know. Nothing is out of the equation. But I don't know. You guys, religion messed me up. No, I'm fine. Shut up.
Yeah, totally fine and normal.
No, I'm
Everything's
cool.
fine and normal.
I'm cool. It's fine. Yeah, but whatever. It's fine. Stop saying that, Jenny. It's fine. Let's see. Ouija boards. Let's talk about Ouija boards. Now, these have been proven by science to just be a thing that you do, your brain is making micro moves and you don't even notice it. You're not doing it consciously. It's a subconscious movement that you're doing with the Ouija board. I don't believe that. I do. I totally believe that. But I can't ever touch a Ouija board ever in my life.
No.
I
We
would
grew up
never,
doing them at
ever.
No.
sleepovers.
Not.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah,
No.
no.
Totally fine
I
with
grew
it.
up around those as well, and it terrified me.
Oh, never.
Absolutely not.
I did one. I did one of those sleepover ones where we did the Ouija board, but I will not have those in my house. I won't even have, I know that they make like cute little like planchette earrings or things like that. I won't even have those things.
Thank you.
That's how creeped out I am by those because inevitably any possession story usually starts with we were messing around on a Ouija board.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on. And
No.
even if there is nothing that comes through, it still is going to be in the back of my little brain.
Yes.
You know,
Anything
and-
that goes wrong, you're going to be like, Ouija board.
Ouija board. Like,
Ouija
oh,
board.
got a demon. There it is.
I
It's-
asked for this.
Yeah,
This is my fault.
like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. And I am a big fan of manifestation. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just some messed up manifestation. It's just don't. You're asking for stuff you don't need in your house. Just don't.
Yeah, see, like I don't have a reason for it to be there. I don't need one. I don't want to, nothing. I'm not going to be able to use it properly anyway. I feel like that should be left to people who know how to handle those things and then who know how to cleanse it out after the fact.
That's the key.
Yeah, I don't know. What am
A
I
bunch
going
of
to do?
stupid kids, they're going to be like, ugh, Pazuzu, please make me lunch. No, that's not how this works.
I have
You-
zero fear of them.
That makes
I
1,000%
never
sense.
like,
Yeah.
I know everybody enjoys them. I know everybody enjoys hating them. I know everybody enjoys going crazy about them.
It's not hate,
But-
it's full respect. No, thank
Full
you.
respect. Absolutely full
No.
respect. But you are very unflappable. Like, in a lot of these situations, for a lot of these things, you are very nonplussed about the entire scenario. So,
You're talking about
having-
Kara, right?
Yeah, of
'Cause
course I'm
not
talking
me.
about Kara. You're scared of everything. Are you kidding me?
Right. If you're bored at a sleepover, go get some, like, I don't know, Jenga or something. Leave the planchettes alone.
Yeah.
Don't make one out of paper and a pencil. Just leave it alone, you guys.
Is that what you did?
No. I wouldn't do that. Shut up.
That's absolutely what she did.
Just take it out of the box from Milton Bradley or whatever. It's ready to go. You don't need to
Right.
make your own Tressa.
Who would I know to purchase that for me as a child? Nobody.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's usually, games are usually purchased by parents. And I think somebody would have gotten into a lot of trouble if they had been found out, and that would have been you. You, Tressa.
Yep, that's me.
So-
Yeah.
You do actually kind of have this undercurrent of fear around
Thank you for
demons-
noticing.
around
That's sweet.
demons. Like you literally just said, like I don't really think that they're a thing, but yet you won't touch.
I will still respect it.
Okay.
I'm not going to mess with it.
So there's a tiny bit in your brain, someplace.
You
that
think
does
it's real.
Believe. That does.
Well,
believe.
okay. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to be an idiot about it. I'm not going to go and, like, make out with a guy in the woods and not expect some guy with a knife to murder us. Like, I know the boundaries. I'm not going to
You've
do
never
the
made out with
stupid stuff.
anybody in the woods, Tressa?
I don't camp. What are you talking about? No, of course
Yeah.
not.
Again, Kara. Know your audience here.
Come on, what are you talking about?
She's not going in the woods to do anything,
No.
regardless. Until I lure her out there.
I can't wait.
Oh, it'll be good times. Tressa's first camping trip.
Ugh,
Anywho.
and last. And so, and then, okay, so, I had this whole history where I loved Art Bell, and I would listen to him, and he was like, don't ever touch a Ouija board. And I was like, I will not, thank you, sir. And he had this guest on multiple times who I loved hearing. Father Malachi Martin. He was an exorcist with the Catholic Church, and I guess he got kicked out of the Catholic Church because he was too cool or something. And he had the most amazing exorcism stories that I'm not going to discount. I don't know. His death was the most amazing story he had ever told.
He told the story about his own death?
To someone who found him, and he was like, this is what happened. He was in his library trying to, like, he's on a little tiny footstool, grabbing a book. And something pushed him, and he cracked his head, and he ended up dying from that.
Wow.
He's an exorcist. He probably has so much bad stuff around him all the time. He was an exorcist. So, I'm going to respect this stuff.
Who did he tell the story to?
Like an assistant or something. I don't remember exactly.
The demon who later reported it.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm
like,
a
"I
little
just pushed this
fascinated
guy."
about the death report story. We'll have to circle back to that one day because that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to read it so I can make sure that I wasn't completely
if it was
wrong.
his assistant telling this, oops, a demon pushed him, he told me. Or was the assistant, like, did the assistant have an alibi that day?
Did the assistant
Why
get
would the
promoted?
assistant kill
Do you
her?
get promoted to those
Because
things?
did the assistant get
Right.
promoted? Was there
That's
a
how
life
it works.
insurance policy? There's questions. I'm not going right to demon because this sounds a little convenient. Oh, and then he came back and told me
There's
that a demon pushed him.
Listen, I don't know the details because I have forgotten them. However, this was on point for Father Malachi Martin. He was amazing, and I miss him so much and his stories. He'd be dead by now anyway. He was very old, but the death just made sense, and I don't want you to discount it and make it not true, please. Thank you.
I'm just
mean,
asking
it
follow-up
very
questions.
much-
No,
very
don't do
much-
that.
I mean, he died either way. I mean, the death is true.
Yeah. Well, not to discount that or anything. I mean, in support of, really, some of the higher up exorcists are fascinating if you read some of the stories. What was it? The Pope's Exorcist, that movie with
Yeah.
Russell Crowe. I mean, that was based on a guy who was really the head exorcist for the Vatican. And one of the things that I've liked about interviews and things with him is that he takes into account things like mental illness or
Right.
extreme sickness or behavioral issues.
Because that's what
And-
they do.
Yeah, and then he would sort of tailor these responses, and even these semi-exorcisms, which were really just kind of a show to
Yeah.
kind of get these people into a frame of mind where they would be more accepting of actual, like, medical help or therapy, that kind of thing. But he recounted so many tales of actual exorcisms.
Right, because once you are an exorcist for the Catholic Church, that's your job, and that's everything you do. So you're going to have a ton of stories. And yeah, they won't even, like, look at them unless there is a mental health evaluation and everything has been knocked off the list, so they know, yeah, maybe we should take a look at this. And that is what is, like, so good to me. Like, I know that you're doing your due diligence because you don't want to waste your time or money to check out some guy in Indiana whose house was totally messed up and the kid was crawling on the ceiling and the social worker saw it. But yeah, they're not going to just go see anybody. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that. Like, people that work for the Catholic Church that are exorcists, they don't just like, okay, yeah, whatever. They're like, no, is this been all checked out and made sure that this is not mental illness or some other terminal illness or whatever illness before we go and check this out and make sure that, like, spend and waste all of our resources doing this.
They're
That's-
never going to spend
right.
all their resources. It's
Well-
the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah. Of course not. Of
let's
course not.
be
Come on.
honest.
They're
No,
wearing
growing
gold,
up
it's fine.
a Catholic Church kid, no, you learn all that. Like, you learn to be pretty discerning about things. We get taught pretty young, there's a lot of stuff that isn't actually believed. I always find, like somebody, like when you talk about your experiences, I'm like, whoa, these other churches they're really going all out here, aren't they? Because the Catholic school kids, we learn that that's not all stuff.
My
There's
church,
nothing to be afraid of. Like, we're not taught to be afraid of anything necessarily.
we learned that you guys are going to hell, is what we
Which
learned.
is always so weird because we're the OGs. I think it's weird. I'm like, why you got to go make up new churches? But that's always just me. I always thought that was so weird. I was like,
it is weird.
It's strange.
Yeah.
But not only are they not going to waste resources, and like Kara said, I mean, it's the Catholic Church. Their resources are, I mean, they're like dragons, like sitting on hordes of gold, like
They are
little Catholic dragons. Anyway, but there are actual legal ramifications to some of these things too. If the treatment is too extreme, I mean, they can face,
murder
charges, being sued, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And we all know that the Catholic Church is never good at getting out of legal issues. I mean,
if nothing else, it would just be embarrassing. You have to think about PR.
Oh, they care.
PR over the millennia.
Yeah. Well, they would face some sort of inquiry, right? So, discernment, maybe.
Yeah.
They're getting better at.
Some public backlash, maybe.
And then you get into the Warrens. And boy, do I have my problem with the Warrens. So many. But at the same time, boy, are they good storytellers. And when that's what you know of is the Catholic Church exorcisms and the Warrens, that's terrifying.
It is. It is. Some of their... I've read one of their books, and the stories are terrifying. They really, really are. They're scary, and I don't know enough about them, but to I don't know, qualify any of the cases. Like, it's not like I've done research into their cases.
I honestly don't know if they had a sincere case that they didn't push, but they wrote a great book. I don't know. They spun a great tale. It's fine.
So many of these things, though, are not verifiable, right? I mean, like,
of course.
Even the books from the Exorcists, which the lead exorcist of the Vatican wrote several books. He was all about the writing and the sharing. So, which is weird for Catholic churches, but it is that, like, that little bit of truth, or that little bit of unknown about it, right?
Yeah.
Where you go, maybe this is a thing.
Right. It's the unknown. Like, just about anything in the paranormal, I'll be like, I don't know if I believe it, but I'm not going to discount it. Right. And I will respect it. Will never claim to have all the answers ever. I might pretend every once in a while, but I will never claim always. And just, I think just having such a deep ingrained religious background, I will never be able to shake my fear of demons, because that's a hell that doesn't end if you get killed. That's a hell that continues forever and ever and ever, and that is not great.
No, I would not assume that would be a fun time.
I'm glad that you did not assume that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So what scares you, Jenny?
Oh, boy. Oh, I am so glad you asked. All right, so a little background. I spent time growing up in more of an urban area, and then I spent a great deal of time out in the country. My grandparents had 90 acres, and all of it
90?
90 acres.
Where was this? What was the address?
Outside of Morris. Outside of Morris. And so we were into agriculture.
That's so cool.
We were into agriculture. But my grandfather was a conservationist, so he spent most of that land. He didn't donate it, but he spent most of the land in conservation efforts, so it was a lot wooded. It was very forested. was a very long way of telling you that it was heavily, heavily forested. So I used to be out in the woods a lot. And not only that, but we traveled, right? I was, in the ocean a lot as a kid. I was out and about in camping and caves and all sorts of things. So we did a lot of outdoor activities. And one of the things that I remember from being a kid was whenever I left the house and I had to go, or not had to, but, I was a kid. I enjoyed tromping around in the woods. I was also an only child, so it was just me.
And Jenny, that's where all the porn is kept. So
I was searching for the porn, really. I had heard it was there. I was looking for it.
yeah.
But one main rule that my grandparents had, and we had very serious discussions about it, was I always had to take the farm dogs with me whenever I went into the woods, because we did have a lot of coyotes. And I watched a few times as coyotes hunted down, tried to hunt down like the farm dogs and what have you, and how they moved, and I'd see them sometimes in the woods. As an adult, you don't really have to worry about it, but like as a small child, like you might get ate. But I remember whenever something would be close by, the woods would go real quiet. Everything would just sort of stop. The birds would kind of peter out a little bit, and then even, the bugs would kind of keep going, but everything else would be really still. But there was never a feeling of evil. It was always like, oh, there might be a predator nearby or something along those lines. Anything, coyotes, wolves, bears, they do what they're going to do, which is try to eat things because it's a matter of survival. But there's no malevolence behind it.
Sure.
So what really creeps me out is those moments in the woods or any place outdoors where you feel that something's watching you and it's not right. It's not just about surviving. It's a malevolence and a malignancy that's kind of very pervasive. So the stories of the Skinwalkers, the stories of the Wendigo, those are the things that scare the absolute poop out of me.
Because they're demons.
So you did not hear the stories first. You noticed the presence like in the woods. You noticed that something wasn't right. And later you heard the stories and said, that's what that could have been.
Yes, and I don't know necessarily if that was what it was at the time. But I will tell you that about a year ago I was in Arches. And this was at a time where I was on a podcast and starting to talk about some of these supernatural things. And the Native American and the First Peoples stories and myths are fascinating. And I love them. My grandparents loved them. The people that I would go see when I traveled to were of Mayan descent, and they loved the myths and the stories. And it was a way to explain the outdoors and all of everything, right? The whole world. So I've always really, really loved them. So, of course, being into the paranormal, I'm going to also love the stories of the evil presences. And being in Moab by Arches, that borders on Navajo territory and the Navajo reservation. So, obviously, I'm going to start asking about skinwalkers. Well, the thing about skinwalkers is that the more that you talk about them and the more that you ask about them, the more you are noticed. Much like the demons.
Right. Did nobody say anything? Did nobody say shish?
No. It was recounted by a couple of the actual Navajo folk that I talked to. Hey, we heard these stories growing up. I don't know how much credit I give to it, but I think I may have had an experience, or two. So just talking about it. So anyway, we go out to look at the stars in the middle of Arches because the national parks, delightfully so, most of them are open 24/7. So you can go to these great expanses of wilderness and see the outside and see the stars and just be a part of the beauty. Being a person who meditates and likes to spend time by themselves, I thought, I'm going to be so spiritual right now. We're up in arches. You can't see any city lights. The stars are gorgeous. I'm going to go sit someplace and meditate, like under the stars, just for a minute. So I walk away from the people that I'm with, and I'm gone, walking about 5 minutes, right? I can't really hear them. I can't really see them. I'm looking for a spot to sort of sit down, and then all of a sudden that heavy quiet hits.
Oof.
That very visceral sort of air. And I look ahead of me on the path, and I'm starting to get the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I look ahead of me on the path, and this dark shape sort of skitters. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's skittering. Skitters across the path, probably 20 feet in front of me. And I turned my happy butt around and ran right on back to the people that I was with. But it's that feeling that something is not normal, something is not natural, and it wants to hurt you. It doesn't want to just kill you because it's hungry. It just wants to hurt you.
I don't know that feeling. It feels like
terrifying.
Demons in my head, and I don't like it.
It's terrifying. I would get that feeling in the ocean sometimes.
Oh, no, thank you.
Either snorkeling or scuba diving, and sure enough, you'd look around and you'd see like a shark or like a shape, something like that. Now, sharks are fascinating but also terrifying.
Sure.
And they're just doing what they're going to do, but there's less intelligence there.
Is there the...
Says you.
Says me. But it's that same, vibe, just only intensified because it's evil.
And you're underwater, and if you lose one piece of equipment, you're dead. Like, no.
Well,
like your arm.
But I meant the evil, like, in the woods and stuff. And, like, occasionally you'll get it in the ocean. But the sharks, like, you get that vibe that, like, okay, they're just maybe going to bite you just to see what's up.
In the woods, you're like, I don't like this. I'm going to leave. I'm gone. I can still breathe. Underwater, you're like, I don't like this. I'm going to leave. I hope I don't lose my breathing apparatus. No!
Takes a lot longer to get out of the water, yeah.
The water, like, turns it up a notch just because it isn't your... Right. It already is unnatural.
Yes.
But when it becomes unnatural in the woods, then it's even more unsettling. Because that is your environment, and you shouldn't feel like that. You should feel like that in the water, because you're at a decided disadvantage.
Yeah,
you're a visitor.
And a large fish could take you out, literally.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely. But yeah, in the woods or certainly in arches, in some of these older places that contain all of these myths and have contained myths forever. Since the beginning of people being there, there's always like there are these spots that you're not supposed to be. And that's what terrifies me.
I have a hard time even saying the names of some of these things. The fact that you're like, hey, what about this guy and this guy and this guy? I'd be like, how about that one thing that starts with a W and the other thing that starts with the S? What's going on with those things? No thanks. Nope.
Well, I think I feel a little bit safer, like, in the fact that I'm so far removed.
But you're right there. What are you talking about?
But, yes, at that point, I'm not going to go back to Utah and start mouthing off about it. Like, I'm not going to be in the middle of the woods talking about these things. Not again. It's just not going to happen. But here, in the safety of my own home, I feel all right.
Let's chat it up.
I'm sure they could pick locks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they need locks.
They'll just kick in the door.
Kick.
Yeah, so that is truly what frightens me. It's so connected to all of, and I really feel like we have, in our little brain spaces, we still very much have that primal sense, That's why I think some people inherit the ability to be psychic or those tendencies, those intuition I think that that's passed down, and that used to be stronger way back when in our ancestral peoples, that it was a little bit more universal. And some people just kept it. But that's the thing that scratches at that primordial sort of part of my brain.
Right, it's how animals know how to do everything that they know how to do. It's just instinct. And we are losing so much of our instinct.
Yeah.
Because we're stupid and we're like, hey, let's go see what's in those woods. My name's Jenny. Let's do this.
No, it's going in the woods that turns it on and gives you the access.
Yeah.
If you hide in your house, you're never going to feel it.
Hey, you
You're
guys,
not connecting.
let's take a quick break, you guys. And then Jenny can tell us about more dumb stuff she does in the woods. Where am I? Okay, see you in a little bit. Oh, here we are. Still.
Even bigger.
Someday I'll figure this out. I don't know. Whatever.
All right, stupid stuff in the woods. Let's go.
Starting with Jenny. Oh, I'm just kidding. I love you. You're the best and so smart.
Oh, you're so smart. I love you.
Stop it.
But it's the Uncanny Valley thing too, right?
Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Yes, please.
My theory, it's just humans, Homo sapiens, we're surrounded by different species that look similar to them that would kill them on a daily basis. And so that they didn't look exactly like them, we have this like instinct to be creeped out by something that doesn't look exactly like us, like Neanderthals or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's my theory. And I don't think it's that weird and creepy that we would have this instinct in us. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's one of the main theories behind it, is because at one point in our history, we split off and became different species, right, in the same family, like the Neanderthals and, Cro-Magnon man, and I don't know. I would love to say that I knew all of the terminology and whatnot, but I totally don't.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
Whatever. But there's also some fringe sort of ideas on that, like the aquatic ape theory, which I freaking love, which is that when we did have those schisms in our genealogy timeline, or genetic timeline, that some of the primates at that point just were like, screw this land thing, I'm going back to the ocean.
I mean,
I love that theory.
I want to do that right now. Can we do that? Is that an option?
I think so. I think we just
Let's
have to try a couple of times, and maybe we evolve a little bit, but
that can't be hard, right?
Yeah, no. I think it would
just
be good.
take a few million years.
Shh. Don't rain on my parade. plan. But that's one of the theories behind mermaids, right? Or
right.
Yeah. The predatory mermaid. Anyway.
Wait, real quick, can I tell you guys a secret? Don't tell anyone though.
Okay. What's the secret? I'm so excited about it.
Up until like a couple years ago, I thought that the Uncanny Valley was a TV show that we were comparing everything against. Okay, thanks. But don't tell anyone, okay?
And you were just the only one that never watched that, just never saw it? Okay.
Yeah, that's my existence.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't allowed to watch the Smurfs.
I'll accept it.
Makes sense to me.
No, I mean, it does if you were not allowed to watch things.
I watched the Smurfs every morning before high school. We went to a friend's house and picked somebody up, and I watched more Smurfs in high school than I ever did as a child.
Did you ever watch any Uncanny Valley?
Jenny, shut up!
Maybe right after the Smurfs. It really was a TV show we watched every morning. Don't tell Tressa.
What am I missing out on?
She just missed it.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, on the show, on Uncanny Valley, uh, we split off from our other bipedal uh, ancestors and became humans, and they just became other things like Bigfoot and mermaids and
Mm-hmm.
things that terrify us. But yes, that is the whole theory behind Uncanny Valley, is that survival is based upon not running into things that look very much like you, but are not other tribes.
I mean, that's how I feel about jocks, so it all works out.
It does all work out.
It all makes sense.
It does. Yeah, and the other part of the myth of any of the deep dark woods things is that they're so prevalent across culture, and they're so prevalent across geography. Every culture everywhere has something evil that lurks in the woods.
Is that true?
Mhm.
Name 5.
All right. Let's see. We have the Baba Yaga.
Oh,
Oh.
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Werewolves, certainly. Vampires, that's another one. And then we get the Wendigos and
Wait. We're talking fancy vampires. They're in the woods, really?
yeah, not the sparkly kinds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
And
but
not
the
the
OG.
unraced kind.
Yeah. The
And not the
OG
True Blood
vampires.
kind.
Yeah.
And not the Buffy kind.
No. The mean kind.
And, I
The
think
mean
you're
kind
reaching.
that Chad Lewis, friend of the show, makes kits to hunt. I don't know if anybody knew
You know
this.
what? Actually, like the vampires of, yeah, that they would dig up the bodies in like the 1700s and burn all of the insides. It's those kind of vampires. I'll go with you on that.
Yeah.
I have, I guess, very little information about vampires, so. Okay.
So, I believe that brings us to Kara.
Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
It is your turn.
So I think I'm going to start out before I say any of my stuff. I think the connection here that we've been saying like over and over again is, just kind of that feeling, that vibe, and, kind of that uncanny valley feeling that we get. So I grew up not necessarily afraid of a lot of things, right? I grew up with a ghost in my house that, I always say my first ghost story is the story that I don't remember because it was just so normal to me. In my mom told me about it. In my family, my mom's side, it's not that unusual to say, was that place haunted? And people can say what they saw there, felt there, whatever. So I didn't grow up afraid of ghosts. I didn't grow up being afraid of it. And I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I didn't grow up afraid of things. We learned about purgatory, and that was a little creepy. Pray for the babies that didn't get baptized, but that wasn't scary. That was just do that. There's still like a thing we can do. So it still wasn't scary. I didn't grow up learning to be scared of demons. I didn't grow up learning to be scared of Ouija boards. I grew up visiting our family in cemeteries was really normal, and the cemetery that so much of my family is buried in is Resurrection Cemetery, where Resurrection Mary comes from. So it was always look for those handprints. Do you see her? Wouldn't that be awesome if she hops in our car? All this normal stuff. We grew up, superstitious. You held your breath as you were driving past the cemetery, but not while you were in it. You would die. But,
What?
all of these, when you pass a cemetery, you're supposed to, sign of the cross, say a quick Hail Mary, and you hold your breath as your car is driving by. You grew up very superstitious and very ritual based. It's all rituals.
Yes,
it's all
very
just,
ritual based.
It's just rituals. And so it's not scary. You just perform the rituals. I grew up eventually going to Bachelor's Grove. All this stuff, even before the internet was a thing and everybody talked about these stories. So it was still just exciting. It was all just myth and legend and word of mouth and exciting. There was never anything scary. It was my mom would say, oh, when I was younger, no, we didn't go there because, people said people were hanging in the trees. No, they weren't. Like, people just went and drank there. But, nothing, but it was so just exciting to go do these things. And the Ouija board was
Yeah.
a fun thing. Nothing was
No.
scary about it. So I grew up with it being fun, and ghost stories were awesome.
Let me
And-
ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
So you played with Ouija boards as a child.
hmm
Did you like go through the proper measures? Like,
No.
this is how you...
Who defines the proper measures? Who's
I don't know,
makes
Milton
it up?
Bradley? I don't know.
the same? Yeah, like the same people that used to, like, you know. So I'm sure the Warrens have proper measures for a Ouija board, but what else do you believe they say? You know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so-
But like, just common knowledge to me is like, you need to like say get out, and I'm done with you. Please leave. Goodbye.
Now I have a follow-up
I don't
question.
know.
What are the directions on the Milton Bradley Ouija board box? I'm
Have
gonna
a good
look that
time,
up,
kids.
have
I'm
a
gonna
good
look that
time,
up,
kids. Basically.
and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I don't
see
know.
if there's anything on there. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, I always
Wait
just thought
for
it was
my
funny that
report.
it's this pressed piece of plastic and it's just a game board like a Monopoly board, but it has instead a Ouija board on it.
Listen,
So-
you know what? We're gonna post our findings about this subject.
Nope.
So you're gonna
Oh, yeah, go
follow
ahead.
I'll
that.
have
I
to
don't
get
care.
one
In
and
social
I'll post the
media.
instructions so everybody, you know, can.
Mhm.
So, but I've always just thought a connection to the other side was just normal. It was never a scary thing. I grew up, I could say, you know, probably a prevalent fear my whole life is fear of dark water. I mean, it could literally be a dark pool, and I'm assuming there's a giant shark that's going to come eat me. But it's not for real. Even my own pond in my backyard, it's like 3-4 feet deep. That still scares me if it's too dark.
fine.
Yes.
I need there to be light because I don't know what's in there.
Sharks, Mark.
I know
There's
what's in
probably
there.
a shark in there. No, you're
There
right. to be
probably
scared.
is. So there's, you know, I'll say I was always afraid of that, but that's just, you know, just the stuff you can't see. So, right, it is the fear of the unknown, of course. But
Mhm.
so it's more I notice my actual things that I'm afraid of as I get older. I could always say a fear has always been being lost. Literally just one time.
Oh my God.
I was on my rollerblades not far from my house, and that sucked, and I was like lost in some subdivision. I was like almost crying trying to find a friend's house. But that's not fear of, you know, something paranormal. That's just I'm alone out here in the middle of a suburb.
Right, but
where
it's the
people
fear
would
of
have
the
helped me,
unknown.
but it's the
You don't
unknown.
know what's
So-
happening.
Those are kind of my, you know, like common fears through time. But my, you know, when it comes down to it, there are a few places in the world. There have been a few situations, you know, with ghosts I can talk about, or, you know, what I'm going to call ghosts that I feel scared of. But the thing that now that I'm most fascinated with, that scares me the most, is said Resurrection Cemetery. Not just anywhere in there. I feel comfortable in at home. I learned how to drive stick shift in Resurrection Cemetery. It's fine. It's visiting my family. It's great there. There are little mausoleums that you can go into, not just like private family ones, that are fine. It feels comfortable there. But there is one giant mausoleum. We learned from a friend of ours, Paige, of Expedition Entity, that it's actually the home of the most stained glass in the world. I forgot the
What?
exact, but I thought that was an interesting bit of trivia. There's
The
a lot of
most.
stained glass. Like, it's thick. There's a ton of it. So it's like, I bet it's by weight, but we should research this. But that's an aside. The first time I ever went in there, because I said I was with my mom. I was like, let's go in there. That'll be really cool. We got to check it out, because I have always loved. I remember when we were I was little and we went to New Hampshire and Maine and all of that. We had to go to the very old cemeteries in Maine, like down the street from my family. So even when I was little, just fascinated. So I had to go into this mausoleum, right? So we go in. From the moment I first stepped in when I was younger to today, terrified of being in there. I absolutely love going in there, though. And I love nothing more than bringing people that haven't been in there before to be like, yo, what do you feel? What do you think? Because, so one thing I've learned since I grew up, being aware of ghosts, I've always been aware of them, but through my life, I have either just kind of taken it for granted and never tapped into that, or I moved away, had kids, did all this stuff that I just kind of turned it off and was never around it. And I kind of forgot, and I kind of didn't realize that growing up in the Chicago area, we grew up so spooky and around other people that are into all of this. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be into the paranormal. There's so many resources and like-minded people around that I totally took for granted that this was not normal. So when I lived someplace else, I kind of turned it off, and I started to experience things again when I moved back. But it took a little while. And then because of my job, I shut it off for a little while again. And so, but all the time, anytime I would go into this mausoleum, even if I couldn't see, feel, hear anything else ever, no matter how much I would want to, I could feel something there. And so the interesting thing, though, so who knows? This is consecrated ground, right? It is in Resurrection Cemetery, a huge Catholic cemetery in the Chicago area. It should be fine. You also can't do ghost hunts. They won't sanction a ghost hunt in a Catholic cemetery because there aren't ghosts. You go to heaven.
Or purgatory,
or
right?
someplace else. So there aren't ghosts, so they can never sanction a ghost hunt because would be admitting. The church would have to admit that this is a thing that's going on. So there's not going to be a sanctioned ghost hunt there. What fascinates me is that nobody will really talk about it. There's even, a local, very popular ghost guy that goes way back. He tells people like, oh, email me or message me if you feel something. So one day I emailed him really thinking, we are going to talk about this place. I am desperate. You can't find things online. I'm desperate to talk to people about how they feel there. And he emails me back, yeah, people see things and I was like, oh, I just wanted to talk, sir. But he, didn't want to talk about it. So it's when I walk in there, honestly, the last time I was there, it was with Jenny and Paige. And it was the first time I really kind of had the epiphany that for as many places that I've been in and as many experiences as I've had the epiphany finally after all these years. I actually like what I'm feeling, hearing, all of this, just me personally, doesn't have to be somebody else, is something. You watch these ghost shows and people will talk about, the mediums will say, oh, I feel dizzy here, and that's evidence, right? Like we hear that and we go, oh boy, they feel dizzy there, oh, something's going on. They feel something's going on. And for some reason, every time I felt that, it was, whatever. That's not happening.
Exactly. You're like, that's not, I just didn't have lunch or whatever. Like, you don't think about actually how everything feels until you concentrate on how.
Oh, no, I knew how it felt. My feelings weren't valid.
Blow it off. Right, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying.
Just not valid. Just invalid. It's not me. I'm not seeing things. I'm not feeling things.
I have not been certified as...
Yeah, yes. Nobody told me that you're seeing ghosts, even though I have my whole life, right? So, and I always pretty aggressively turn it off. So I make sure that I'm not seeing, hearing, feeling things when I don't want to. So somebody else, a friend of ours, told a story recently that he just never learned how to turn something off. He was open to it, was sensing it, and never learned, and a medium friend had to explain kind of how to turn it off. I was like, oh, I can turn it off all day long. It's the opening up to it and trusting it that I'm not so strong at. So there is something, though, with this mausoleum. I don't know what it is, so it's allegedly,
you've got a connection.
Appropriately blessed and consecrated and appropriately, and they hurt people. Like, it's always funny to me when I see people visiting their family there, like actual scares the crap out of me when I see another human, because it's not what I expect to see, because I expect to see something else. So I always kind of jump, and you really do feel like when you go into the stairway, you really feel like when you walk out, you are going to walk into a different space. It feels like you leave time. It feels like things just aren't right anymore. And it feels funny when you step back, for me at least, when I step back into the world, like out the doors, I feel it is a palpable difference, and things are just, it's a completely different existence from one moment to the next. And one day, and maybe somebody listening to the show will have it, but like one day I will find somebody that like will want to talk about it. But I am obsessed with going there because it makes you feel something. Like Andy last week talked about that proof of life feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what we're all looking for all the
Yeah.
time, is just feeling alive and like something is happening and like you're connecting to more than you.
Yes.
Because otherwise we go through every motion every day. But when it's a little malevolent, then it gets a little scary. But that being said, my huge disclaimer here, even if it's something that's not inherently scary or malevolent, I'll still just go run if I feel something and it startles me. I am known for going and just running, and that's so.
Wait,
I
you
haven't
mean
yet in the
away,
mausoleum,
right? You don't
Yeah,
mean towards it.
Yeah.
No,
Because I
away,
can
like,
see you running towards it as well.
involuntarily. But I also have spent a lot of time in an abandoned prison, and there's a lot of
Oh,
spirits that I'm sure a
didn't know
lot
that
of
about you.
people. I know, isn't it weird? No one ever talks about that. So so there's a lot of spirits, and I'm sure a lot of people walk in and say there's something, oh, they're all bad, or they're all not at all. It's a lot of,
Yeah.
just as people are, so are the spirits. There's a whole lot of spirits there that are fine. Maybe, they may have been in prison, but they're totally fine. But there is something that, more recently than not, is in a gallery, one of the galleries. It just it's a gallery that people don't walk through. It's always locked. Hasn't gotten all cleaned up. Still great for pictures. Sometimes people walk through. But something shifted. Whether something opened there or something happened, something shifted there. And I don't know what it is. It was kind of one day we sensed it, and it doesn't like women, or women don't like it. There's something there. And the light is different, is how we describe it. Like you can see, you can see, but you can't see. The light is different,
Yeah.
is how you perceive it. And that, I don't like walking there. I don't like being there. I don't like that. And that's, interestingly enough, when my doppelganger was seen there, it was seen there. When the picture was taken of my doppelganger, it was seen down that gallery, was where the picture was taken. It was
Interesting.
me, I was outside of it, but still in line with it when it was seen by Rob and Nikki that night. And so there's something there. And who knows if I'll ever have the chance to know, or to be close enough to know again. But there's something, so it's that unseen malevolence. There's something malevolent there. And that's the connection to all of it, is that unseen malevolence. Whether it's something that we were told to be scared of or not told to be scared of, but we can sense it. And it's when you can't quite interpret its intentions, maybe. When you don't quite know.
Yeah.
Because it's not the spirits that scare me. There's that same night that my doppelganger was seen at Gallery 1, and, I knew that it wasn't me standing there. They saw my doppelganger because I wasn't going to hang out there ever long enough for somebody to see me standing there. That same night, though, I walked into Death Row and can feel like a cloud of energy, saying hi and welcome. So it's not just that you're in a prison. It's not just that. But I also...
It's that
I'll never call it
spirit.
demons.
Yeah,
I'll never
Oh
call
no,
it
I don't
demons.
think that has anything to do with demons.
It's that
I wouldn't claim
malevolence
that.
and that evil, and that you can sense it, and that it can set off all of those alarms for you. What's fascinating to me is, I've known Kara for a few years now, and I know that she has this innate ability to sort of just shut things down and then go into action. Just in general, shut things down. But it's so her being afraid of something is not really a common thing. It's not something that I know about her to be afraid. So when you proposed this idea of going to this mausoleum and you said it's the only place that scares me, I went, let's go right now. Because
Please.
I would
Thank
like
you.
to see this place that actually manages to scare you.
Right.
And it's a creepy, it looks very, the Stanley Hotel, very Kubrick sort of
Yeah.
Yes.
linear, and just things are not quite proportional. It messes with you a little bit.
So, and then even on that note, there's a So I thought, I was like, am I just really scared of very large mausoleums? You know, so we have to have some science, right? Like, is a very large Catholic mausoleum just my fear?
So you gotta
and
go
end
see
it
all
there.
of them. Yeah,
Like,
go see all
so
of them.
let's go check out another one. So there is a huge, gorgeous one. Like, even from the outside, it is just striking. The first time I saw it, it was at night, and I was like, I gotta go there. Queen of Heaven in Hillside, right across the street from Mount Carmel Cemetery, where Al Capone is buried, amongst other people. A lot of people. But, so I went in there.
Is that how that works?
It's a big old cemetery. So I'm like, amongst other people, like there's 5 other people there. It's a huge cemetery. Also worth a visit. Other than Al Capone, it's a gorgeous cemetery. But Queen of Heaven, this gorgeous, huge mausoleum. No, I could take a nap there. It is gorgeous. It's huge. It is beautiful. But it's the same. I don't think they went and used a different architectural company in designing this place. It has a similar...
Yeah.
Some of the statues are similar. You know, there's a similarity. But, oh my, I love that place. I'm going to probably in the winter when I can't really, don't want to run around in the snow at other cemeteries, I'm visiting again. Love it. So I want to go take a nap at the Queen of Heaven Mausoleum. I don't think you could pay me to sleep, spend the night at the Resurrection Mausoleum. So it's not large Catholic mausoleums.
Yeah,
Experiment
one of the
proven.
things that I find interesting is that I got none of the same feelings in that mausoleum, which is not surprising to me because I don't really get feelings or vibes from spirits or what have you. I've never seen them. It's just not on my radar. But I get the same feelings out in the middle of the woods. I get that same sort of primal intuition. Mm-hmm. Kara just happens to get it in places that might also be haunted as well.
I get that feeling in my basement, and then I have to run up the stairs, and I don't like it.
Talk to it.
Am I
and
alone
be like,
here?
what's up?
I don't like it. I feel like I can see somebody, and I don't know that I do, and I don't like it. I don't like
Maybe
it.
you do.
I hate my basement very much.
Is there
what's
there
up?
someone who lives down there?
Maybe.
Like an actual person? 'Cause
Yeah,
that
they
happens.
pay rent, but they're very scary.
They're terrifying. Very unusual.
Just
They
give me
have
the
weird
check by
hair.
the 1st. I won't look at you, though.
Man, you guys, I feel like I really learned something.
That's sad. But
about
thank you.
and about Kara and just about everybody.
We talked
And
about
ourselves.
a lot of great
ourselves.
things.
Yeah. I think we learned a lot about ourselves.
I'm glad that you guys think that.
Shut up, Tressa. You know it. I love it. Love it.
Love you.
So yeah, we'll love some
So I think we're done.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for listening to us tonight, especially, well, I'm going to go with especially. Sorry, all of the listeners that have always listened to us, especially our Paranormal 60 audience hearing us on Wednesdays on Paranormal 60. Thank you so much for coming with us on this journey of our fears. And we'd love to hear about yours. I think that would make a pretty cool show, too. We would enjoy it.
Where can they share those stories?
You can share with us, find us, interact with us, watch our hijinks all over the place. You can find us on Into the Obscure on Facebook, Into the Obscure on Instagram, Into the Obscure on YouTube, and on TikTok. But really, Into the Obscure all over. Facebook is a pretty easy place. You could watch our lives there and message us and interact with our posts pretty easily. I would love to meet you, and I would love for you to share our journey with us.
And
Thanks so much
rate,
for listening,
review,
everybody.
subscribe. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Ding.
Bye.
Bye.